So you've adopted 5 children, correct?
Adopted 5.
And my second question is, through all these processes of adoption, what are some lessons that the Lord's revealed to you?
Before the adoptions, as Bertie said, I fostered over 300. Drug babies mostly. Pregnant teens, teen moms. But one of the lessons that I learned early on, it's one thing to love babies, but it's another thing to take babies that, perhaps they're withdrawing from drugs like most of the foster babies were, not the adopted babies. But anyway, I learned the heart of the Lord like I had no idea. I had no idea the love that the Lord has for orphans. And I'm not a real weepy woman, but I just remember sitting up in the middle of the night with my babies and weeping over them, just literally weeping over these babies with such a love that it didn't matter if I had sleep, it didn't matter what. I just was so overwhelmed. And I began to realize that the Lord was imparting to me His love that, can walk through anything that you have to walk through. And so that was a huge and important first revelation to me. There were real differences with my adopted babies. And I just want to give you an example. One of my adopted babies, the mother kept a diary through the pregnancy, from the day that she found out she had conceived until the day that she gave birth. And as I read through that diary, I couldn't help but really cry a lot, because it was very touching, because there was so much love expressed from this birth mother. She did such a good job of communicating that. And what was interesting was, as a result of carrying that baby, even though she knew that she was going to have to relinquish just because of circumstances in her life, she was a college student, but as a result of the love that she felt for this unborn baby, this baby was born with a real peace about her. She was just a joy, and she was a pretty easy baby. And then another one of my adopted babies was, and by the way, they were all days or weeks old, all 5 of my adopted kids. But this other mama, she was in such turmoil while she carried this unborn baby, because she had had another baby that she lost. And in fact, I fostered that baby before they gave her up for adoption, and so the mother was heartbroken. And so she really, finding out that she was pregnant again after she had lost this first baby, she didn't let herself feel much emotion at all for this baby that she was carrying. In fact, she said, every day for the first 6 months, I thought of suicide and abortion. And so she carried the baby for 6 months, thinking of suicide and abortion. And it was only the last 3 months that she found some peace, because we invited her to come and live in our home until the baby was born. And she was able to calm down and be more at peace. when that baby was born, you know, trust me when I tell you, I know this from experience, from years of just observing that when a baby is in the womb, it does feel what you feel. It experiences the emotions that you do. And so this baby came out screaming and is fighting for her life. And I mean, morning, noon, and night, she screamed and she fought. And I cried myself to sleep many nights. And I did a lot of fasting, a lot of praying. And it seemed like that every time I would try to figure something out for her, I couldn't, and then I would fast and pray, and the Lord would give me an answer, and He would show me what I needed to do. And so we had some really big breakthroughs because of that, but I don't know why it was like that, but I could not get answers unless I would be willing to fast. And then God would show me. So it was just very interesting to me to see the difference, you know, with whatever was happening in the womb. Really saw the results of it. Yeah.
So Judy, she birthed 2 kids too, so. In light of Christine Kane's video, how did you relate to your adoptive children versus your biological children?
First, I want to say that I do have 2 birth children. I have a son and a daughter, and they're both wonderful. And they have been very, very good to me. I live at Mission Ridge at St. John's, which is a beautiful place to live, and it's because of my son who pays all my expenses to be there. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And I have a daughter here in town that watches over me, and anything that I need, she's there. I don't ever have to ask twice. And I'm very blessed to have both of those birth children. Before I answer that, there's one thing I wanted to say. I have another adopted child here this morning, and her name is Chelina. and Chelina was my last adopted child. And you know, when I fostered, I had mostly Native American babies, and I absolutely loved them. They were just such beautiful, precious babies. But I never, ever tried to adopt one of them. And I really didn't even let myself go there, or I would have wanted to adopt every single one of them. But when Chelina came into our home, she was 26 hours old. And from the very beginning, I knew that she was supposed to be mine. And I will tell you, some of you might know this, but adopting a Native American baby is not easy. For a white family to adopt a Native baby is very difficult, almost impossible. But I knew that she was to be mine. And I had to fight for her more than any of my other adopted kids. And I fought, and I prayed. And I put her on the altar, and I told the Lord, I know that you're in control, and I just release it to you. And then I would just be so upset for something happening, and I would take her off the altar. And then I would be sorry, and I would put her back on the altar. And this went on, and I went to a foster parent conference, and I took my kids with me. And this Indian lady got up, and she said how no Native American child should be in the home of a white family. They should be with their tribe, and so on and so forth. And it was like really forceful. And I was just sitting out there getting so offended and so upset. And I was taking her back off the altar. And we decided it was a Sunday morning heading home, and I I said to the kids, let's go to that church before we go home. So we went in, and when the pastor came up, at some point in the service, he said, this morning the Lord gave me a word for somebody. And he said, you're carrying a heavy burden. And he said, you're in a situation where you've put it on the altar and you've taken it off the altar. But the Lord wants you to know that he cares about this more than you do. And he is in control. And I just remember it was just like, I knew it was for me. Maybe somebody else thought it was for them. It was definitely for me. And I just remember feeling a weight fall off of me. And then when the adoption happened, it was so amazing. It was really such a miracle because I remember the judge got up, and I didn't know if the judge was going to grant my petition for this adoption because there was a crisis happening in my family at the time. And I was really genuinely worried. And she was like 2.5 by that time, so I had to wait on that adoption. And the judge came up and he said, I have read your profile. He kept using the word blessing. And he said, you have blessed many children. And he just went on and he kept using this word blessing. And he just in the end said, I want you to know that I am very happy to grant your petition. And I had lots of friends with me, and they had balloons, and this man was so precious, and he read everything. He knew what was going on in my life at that time. But he granted petition for the adoption, and there wasn't a dry eye. We were all just weeping. And so, yeah, I feel like a real blessed mother, and I know that I've had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things as a missionary. I've traveled to many places in the world, and I've had an exciting life. But I will tell you that the one thing that I've done in my life that is more precious to the Lord than anything else I've done, and that's adopted these children and, been a mother to my kids. And I haven't done that perfectly by any means. I'm not an angel. I'm just a mom who has relied heavily on the grace and the strength of the Lord, and I count it such a privilege